Alright guys, I'm going to do a video today about how you can improve your relationship with yourself. And this is something that obviously a lot of people have this issue when they come to therapy. It's a huge cause of a lot of different conditions that people present with. And there's a couple of little things that you can try that might help you out with it. One way that I found quite useful is a lot of people have kind of related to this because I think it's something that a lot of us go through. We either do this or we are on the other end of someone who does this. Is to kind of look at things that might make you untrustworthy, unfavourable and unlikable to other people, that you can relate to. And one thing that a lot of people do is when you get let down by someone, like, you know, if someone makes plans with you and then they don't turn up, or they tell you they're going to do something and they don't follow through with it, on a regular basis, I'm not talking about once or twice, but on a regular basis, it doesn't take long for you to lose faith in them and lose respect for them. And they're not going to be your first port of call if you want to sort of contact someone to do something, because you're going to think they're going to let you down. And quite often, one reason that we kind of feel a bit sort of weak in ourselves is because we do that with ourselves. We'll say, well, right, okay, I know what I need to do. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to do that the day after. I'm going to do that the day after, and then we don't do it. And I think there's a very good lesson to be learnt with this, because, see, sometimes, depending on whether you've got a perfectionist streak, I suppose, as well, is another key element to this. Sometimes you might be setting yourself up with something that's a little bit too much for you at that point in time. And I mean, I can go to extremes, because I can talk about, for example, people that I've seen that are suicidal, and for them sometimes just getting through 5 minutes at a time has been their key in order to sort of get through the day, because they can't even get through a day without sort of having to look just 5 minutes ahead, because that's all they can manage. If that person was to sort of try and say that, well, you know, I'm going to just focus on getting through the whole day, then maybe that will feel too daunting and it'll make them feel worse. So this is why it's often useful to get the help of someone else when you do this, because you need to set yourself something that's outside of your comfort zone, but not too far outside of your comfort zone so that you don't accomplish it. This type of, I mean, you could see, I don't know if you're into your gaming, for example, like games like Call of Duty, stuff like that. There's a reason that there's an XP progression system and an unlock system, because the people that make the game, they know that keeps you addicted, because you want to unlock the next thing and you want to keep going and you want to keep going. Now, if they gave it to you all in one go, it wouldn't feel as rewarding. And it's nice when you can go to your mates and go, oh, you know, I did this, I did that on that game. Have you done that yet? And they're like, no. You know, that's a small example of how in a huge environment, you know, like Call of Duty, millions of people play that. And it's based on these systems. It's based on the systems that human beings we like progression. We like to see progression. And if we don't progress, we stagnate. And often if we stagnate, then all we're left with is to look at all the things that aren't going very well, because we're not going anywhere. So it's such a delicate thing, this is. I mean, this could be an hour. It's not going to be, but I could do an hour on this, because there's so many little intricate things that are involved in it. But the main thing that you need to do is set yourself something that you're going to stick to, and you're going to do it every day. I don't know, if you're looking for work, for example, and you're finding that you're sort of feeling a bit lazy in that, and oh, you know, I'm not sure what type of job I would get. You know, you need to at least be looking. So at the moment, if you're struggling to face looking for a job, you set yourself 2 minutes a day. If you think about that 2 minutes a day over the course of a week, you've done 14 minutes worth of job searching, which, you know, might not sound like a great start, but it's a start. It's better than what you were doing before. So it's very important, because otherwise what will happen is you set yourself a goal and then you don't reach it, and that's what causes procrastination, because then you think, well, I didn't reach the goal, now I failed, now everybody thinks I failed, now everybody's not going to listen to me again when I say that again, so I'm not even going to say that I'm going to do it. And we end up doing that within. So it's very important to make sure that the tasks that you set for yourself, like the challenges that you set for yourself, are reasonable but not too easy, because if they're too easy, there's no reward in them, and you won't feel like you've accomplished anything, and they won't lead to a general progression of you getting somewhere better. So if you go back to the example of your friend, for example, that keeps letting you down, how long is it going to be before you decide, right, I'm not going to bother contacting him or her? You know, it's probably not going to be that long. At least it's not going to be very long until you get frustrated and start getting pissed off with them and think, you know, this is not on, I'm not having this, and getting wound up about it. So that's a very important factor. in the relationship that you have with yourself, because you need to be upfront and trustworthy with what you say. So make your word count, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Make your word matter. So what you say you're going to do, you follow through with it. Make yourself reliable, make yourself trustworthy, and make yourself honest. You know, speak up. Don't make yourself weak. You know, I watched a brilliant TED talk from Jordan Peterson talking about that. About one of the biggest things in his life that made him change was the fact that he realised he was saying things that make him weak. It's a very interesting thing, because we do, and we also, if you set yourself tasks that you're failing all the time, then of course you're going to be saying things that make you weak because you're failing. So as I say, it's a very delicate thing to work on, but it's something that's very, very useful, and something that a lot of people will find a lot of accomplishment, because you'll see, it's like when you lose weight, for example, you're not going to lose 5 stone in a day, but I've said this before, you do it gradually over a longer period of time, and then you will notice that the weight's starting to drop off. And then you'll feel accomplished, because like, oh, I've done it, this is working, this is good, this is working, I'm going to stick to this one, and I'm going to keep on doing it. You know, there's no good in doing it for a week and then thinking, well, you know, I'm not on my target weight, so what's the point of this? What a waste of time. That's not going to help you. So those are all things that end up with you beating yourself up and kicking yourself because you haven't done it. And when you think about it, you might not beat your mate up, and you might not kick your mate for doing that to you, but you would be disappointed in them. So then, another part of this is to think about how you would treat them and what you would say to them about it, because I'm sure that you'd be quite gentle and you wouldn't want to upset them. But at the same time, you'd want to get your point across and say this is unacceptable. So you need to kind of do that to yourself. Instead of beating yourself up, which doesn't work, doesn't help, doesn't do anything, it wouldn't help for a kid. If you verbally beat a kid, that's not going to inspire them to do better, is it? You know, they're going to shrivel up into their shell and they're not going to want to do anything. And in fact, they're going to be scared of you. So you have to think about what you're doing. You have to think about that and stop yourself from doing it. It's a learnable skill. It's something that you need to keep on practicing. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the better you will feel, because you're setting yourself tasks and you're seeing that you're going to accomplish them, no matter how small. Because eventually, like anything, like with exercise, you know, eventually your body's going to get used to the exercise you're doing, and you need to switch it up. And it would be the same with this. You know, 5 minutes of job searching per day, for example. After 2 weeks, that's going to become the norm. And then it's not going to be, it's not in your comfort zone anymore, is it? So then you've got to push yourself a little bit more to do a little bit more, until maybe you find a job, you know. And then when you find the job, it's about then when you go into the job, you do your best in that job, even if it's a menial role that you've just managed to get for yourself. You go in there and you make it yours, and you do your best with it. You know, these are all things. So any little job that you do, any little task that you do, make the most of it. Do it to the best possible way that you can do it. Pay attention to what you're doing with it as well. Open your eyes to the situation around you. Get involved. These are all things that can help you improve the relationship with yourself, because you become trustworthy. And when you become trustworthy, that will show to other people, because you feel it inside. If you don't feel it, then maybe you walk around showing other people that, and they get that, well, you know, I can't really trust that person. I don't really feel like what they're saying is actually what they're going to follow through with or whatever. Yeah. So you emanate it. And people are very good at that, because it's spawned into us with Mother Nature's provided us with a survival instinct that we know. Like, imagine that you go for a new job, for example, and there's 30 people in the office. You're going to roughly somehow know that, oh, probably could chat to that person. They look like I'll probably get on with them. You know, someone else would come into the job and see somebody completely different to you and do the same thing with them. We have a way of knowing. This is how people pick the wrong partners in relationships, because of things they've learnt as a child, you know, like relationship, like role models that they've had, and then they go into older life, and then they pick people that they think, why is this not working? And it's that script that I've talked about in another video, you know. So these are things, just bear these in mind, you know. I'm going to hopefully pick up the pace a little bit more with this. I've been really busy lately, but I'm hoping to get a bit more spare time to do a few more of these, and I'm going to do a series involved with the way that relationship we have with ourselves and the way that we view ourselves, because it's very important. It's very, it's almost essential in our daily life, or in fact I would say it is essential, that you make sure that you're doing these things. Be the person that you think that you should be, you know. Don't beat yourself up for not being it, but make the effort. Get yourself up, get yourself doing it, because without that you've got nothing. 1 minute a day, 7 minutes a week, that's 28 minutes a month, say, roughly, you know, and then you think about that over the course of a year, how much more effort you're making in with something, and that's a gradual progression towards the goal that you want to achieve. Now, depending on the severity of what's going on in your head and what's going on in your life and around you and what you're trying to overcome, is going to depend on what is acceptable and what isn't, which is why you might need help with that. You might need a bit of help figuring out what's a reasonable goal for you to achieve and whether or not that's actually inside your comfort zone or out of it, and will it be productive or not. All right, so I hope that's helped in some way to someone out there, and I'll be back with another one at some point in the future. See you later.